Hi. This morning, I was inspired by this book. This is called Prayers by Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and it is incredible. His prayers are quite beautiful. So instead of doing a card reading, I'm going to read one of his prayers. And I closed my eyes, asked, prayed, please choose a prayer. And this is the prayer that was chosen. It's called, Please let us become children who bring an end to the history of being children without filial piety. Father, until now every day has flowed by filled with sorrow. Therefore we have shouldered the responsibility that the days coming in the future must not be filled with sorrow. We are the people of the Unification Church who have the mission of having to push aside the misfortune of this time, when misfortune dwells in our land, and of having to plant expectation and hope. As for the current trend of thought, with its despair, discouragement, pathos, and grief swirling around, we have come to understand the truth that we must become a main current of unification which can overcome this, and can leave behind expectation and hope. We earnestly hope and desire that you will allow us to become your sons and daughters, who know we must find and live a more public value for the sake of going that way. Father, until now, in the course of following the will you are administrating, the Unification Church has gone through many sorrowful situations. There were not just one or two times that, having been driven into frustrating situations which cannot be explained to anyone, stomping our feet, we wanted to curse, saying you didn't exist. Each time we think of those kinds of days which have passed, we feel once again how pitiful a being you are. Having gone through moment after moment, anxiously and impatiently, without being able to speak, it was you whose face was wounded for our sakes, and whose hands and feet were wounded for our sakes. And not only that, we know that it was you who shed tears, sweat, and blood for our sakes, hundreds of thousands of times, taking on difficult public destined relationships. When we think of the fact that you live with us in this way in our realm of life, an earnest desire to take your hand and never to let it go must swell up in our hearts. Our hearts must swell up with the desire to put our arms around your neck and to follow you on a mountain path or any path. Please let us become people who know that when our minds feel that with that kind of destined relationship, we will have to live our lives carrying you on our backs, even though our strength is inadequate. Only then will we be in the position of having fulfilled our duty of filial piety and loyalty. We have humbly prayed all these things in the holy name of the true parents. Amen. So, this prayer it talks about that God has been suffering. And that's the thing that people don't understand. They keep God at a distance, where he's this judge and this all-knowing being who doesn't have all those human feelings that we have. So you see all the suffering in the world, and you see just people not loving each other, people hurting each other. This is painful for God. And then what's even worse is this life, this physical life, was meant for us to work toward perfection. And when we die, we go to the kingdom of heaven. Well, we end up dying, and all those imperfections that we have, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So, can you say that you love your fellow man like they were your own brother or sister. I can't say that. I can't say that. I don't feel that way towards a stranger on the street. So my heart is not perfected. I am not a true daughter of God. But what Reverend Moon is teaching us is that we can become true sons and daughters of God, but only through the true parents. And who are the true parents? Adam and Eve failed to be the true parents, so God sent Jesus. Jesus did not get married, so he was unable to be the true parents. So Jesus said, I have to return. And so God sent Reverend Sun Myung Moon, and he was able to he completed the heart of the true parents, but his wife failed. So his son, who has carried on his church and his mission, he is considered the second king, and Reverend Moon is considered the first king, and his son's son is considered the third king. And in the Bible, you will see that God works in threes. If he doesn't accomplish something in the first try, he will accomplish it in the third try. So because Reverend Moon's wife failed, it prolonged. I wouldn't say it just prolonged. It did a terrible thing. It prolonged the completion of having the true parents. I'm a little unsure about teaching this because in Hyung Jinim's church, Reverend Moon's son is Hyung Jinim. In Hyung Jinim's church, he has chosen a very old church member to be Reverend Moon's wife. And I'm trying to find out what is the story behind that. Was there a special ceremony where they were married? And in my church, they've done that. They've married people who have passed on with someone on the earth. Like Reverend Moon matched Jesus with someone on the earth, and Confucius and Buddha, he matched them with someone who's physically still alive. So anyway, it's a really fascinating church, and I really truly believe that this is the ultimate teaching. This is the completed testament. You know, we have the Old Testament, we have the New Testament. This is the completed testament. This is the divine principle that God had to send a third Adam, which is Reverend Sun Myung Moon, to be the true parents. Because in order to have true children of God, first you need the parents. And that is why God needed to send Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Okay. I'm going to close this for now. I hope that this was informative and helpful for you. And thank you for listening.